Hello everyone, it's a beautiful Friday morning here in Lagos. Welcome to the show. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Preparation is in top gear for political parties ahead of the 2023 general election. The APC was in Edo State yesterday. We also saw the G5 governors making it to the Oyo State campaign for one of their own, the Oyo State governor. They are still keeping silent about their preferred presidential candidate, saying that perhaps we'll get to know about that in the coming days. We've also heard from INEC a few days ago about taking the last batch, taking delivery of the last batch of the bimodal voter accreditation system that will be used for the coming election. But our attention this morning is turned to Kaduna. The northwestern state continues to play a very pivotal role in the politics of the north and, of course, that of Nigeria. And no doubt the interest in its internal politics spread far beyond its boundaries. My guest is Senator Shehu Sani, author, playwright, human rights activist, and politician. He was a senator representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District at the 8th National Assembly. Senator Sani, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with some numbers here. INEC says 4.4 million voters have now been registered to vote in the 2023 governorship election in Kaduna. That is adding some 479,000 to what the figure was in 2019. However, the figure was higher in 2019 when some 575,000 new people were added to the voter register. What does this say about voter awareness in Kaduna State ahead of this election?
Thank you again for having me. Well, first of all, it's unfortunate that despite all the campaigns awareness, hands of voters' card are still and have failed to go and collect them. But I believe that this can be addressed with more aggressive campaigns and also a strategy of delivering them to the closer point where they can get it. Well, some of the basic issues that we face in the northwestern part of the country is the problem of insecurity. As a result of years of attacks by bandits and terrorists, many communities have been displaced. People have left their ancestral land to other places, and that will seriously, that has seriously affected the system in terms of voter registration and also perhaps the location of polling booths. So Kaduna is one of the states in the Northwest that have faced this kind of challenges. And if there is any problems or disparity in the figure or lowering of the figure, I think it has to do with the kind of problem we face as a state. But I think there should be, INEC should be more creative in terms of locating people who have been displaced and also making provisional points for them where they can vote, since we still have a few weeks to other issues which we should tackle in INEC. But for now, I think the problem has to do with security we face. Because if you divide Kaduna into three, the northern Kaduna, central and southern Kaduna, many people are more aware of what is happening in the southern part of Kaduna, where bandits have been creeping in the night, raising villages, killing people. But in the central parts of Kaduna now, I can also say that there are only 2 local governments that are also perhaps can be said to be free from bandits attack. Other 5 are still under consistent, sometimes insurgent attack by bandits. So I think these are the problems we face. And if you can see any figures, I think it is a result of that.
Well, for INEC, Senator Shehu, the turnout of people to collect their PVCs has been quite impressive, as at 31st of December last year, INEC says just a little over 300,000 PVCs are yet to be collected. But when you consider the challenges you have raised, is this going to in your opinion, will this make voters go out for these PVCs, or you think it will work in the opposite?
Yeah, I think I believe that you can get 100% of this PVC being collected by people if either can use the structures of the religious bodies, the imams and the alfas, as you have it down south there, and also the traditional rulers. I think if such structures are being used, people can come easily, and also ways in which these points can come closer to people so that they can. For example, now I live in Kaduna North local government, which is within the city of Kaduna, but I know that in parts of the outskirts of the city, many people have moved out because of these bandits attacks. And by moving out, it means that they have left their polling units. And if you don't use these religious structures and traditional institutions, it's going to be a bit difficult for you to get those people. So I believe that there's still time, and every voter counts. And if you look at the number of PVCs there that have still not been collected, they are much, and they can be decisive in terms of determining who becomes the president or the governor or the senator or member of House of Reps. So the numbers are still much, and more aggressive campaigns still have to continue with devising ways to bring these cards closer to the people.
Indeed. So when you look at the total registered voter from 2015 to date, it's increased from 3.3 million to 4.4 million. However, the turnout of voters, some would say on a national level, Kaduna hasn't done bad in the past two elections, 48.5% in 2015. And the figures were slightly more people turned out to vote in 2019, but it was still 48% of registered voters. With more than 4 million ahead this election, are you optimistic that Kaduna might break the 48% mark? Senator Shehu, can you hear me? Probably.
Yes, I can hear you.
I was asking, I don't know if you could hear me earlier, about the track record of voter turnout in the past two elections. 48% of registered voters came out in 2015 and 2019. We now have more registered voters in this forthcoming election. I was asking if you think more people will come out this time relative to the past two elections.
Well, I believe that more people will come out to vote. And the reasons has to do with the fact that when the tenure of a governor has come to an end, there is that possibility of people now seeing that as an opportunity for them to come and re-elect a new governor in the states and a new set of legislature. And for the fact that this presidential debate, this presidential campaign has been one in which the incumbent is not contested, is challenging, and everyone is so excited. And for example, the four presidential candidates, Atiku, Aswaju, Peter Obi, and Kwankwaso, are people whom the electorates are so passionate about. And I believe that they are prepared to come out en masse. And I believe this will have the highest voter turnout in terms of especially the presidential election, because the presidential election is one in which people are more looking up to, because it will determine what will come after the gubernatorial and the state assembly election. Because whoever wins the presidency, there is that effect of people gravitating towards the side, and it will certainly affect subsequent elections. So I am very much confident that there will be more people out to vote in the 2020 election than at any time in the history of Nigeria.
All right, let's get down to some principal factors that determine how Kaduna voters vote. There's this considerably sharp division in ethnic and religious lines. And there's also the very important role it has come to play in the Kaduna politics. Recently, the state governor has been talking about taking religion away from politics. But I just want to hear from you how you think these factors have played out in the past, let's say, 10 years or 15 years. Would you say that ethnicity and religion is playing minimal role, or it has even gotten worse in the past 10 years?
Well, you see, in a country that works, where leaders have committed and dedicated themselves to serving people, I think religion should not have been an issue. If our leaders have emphasized on building roads, hospitals, schools, and have proven over the years that it does not matter the religion of a leader, but what matters most is where the competence, the intellect, the vision, and the sacrifice of that leaders to his people, I think we couldn't have reached a point where we'll be talking of where a leader comes from, what is his religious background or ethnic identity. But in a society and the kind of politics we run, where people who won elections don't see themselves as elected servants of the people, but they see themselves as conquerors, where they have to bring people from their ethnic and religious background to come and serve in government. That's why people now said, okay, if you are in government and people who surround you are people from your ethnic and religious cycle, then certainly that we have no hope. We need someone too who comes from our own religion and identity. In Kaduna State, we know it. The part of the state I come from is where the Muslim House of Fulani are predominant, and in the southern part of the river Kaduna, it is predominantly Christians from different ethnic background. So we have over 4 decades suffered ethno-religious problems, and those who have been in the position of authority have not ruled with justice, with fairness, and with equity to have reached a point where we say religion doesn't matter. It is as if the state is being run like the way apartheid in South Africa. So people in southern Kaduna, you can see, you can compare the level of government in the north than the other southern part of the country. Even on the matter of insecurity today, the bandits, the strategy of the bandits in the southern part is different from the one in the northern part of the state. The terrorists, I mean. So there is no way you can have an organogram of leadership without giving consideration to the religious sensitivity of people of that part of the state. And the people of that side are basically Christians. There is a need for any equation, any setup, any structure that is made in the state should take consideration and cognizance of that fact. If you don't respect the problems of marginalization and alienation of them because of the identity issues. So I believe that as far as I'm concerned, the governor has not been a unifying figure in the state. He has not been the one that has carried everyone along in the way the state is being run. So that is why the voting patterns differs. The way the people of Southern Kaduna vote, the party they vote, the people they vote are different from those the one in Northern Kaduna votes. And unless you reach a point where you have a leader who will treat everyone with justice, equity, and fairness, then we can now say religion does not, but it is all the problem of leaders who have not shown the people that they are unifiers. They are ones who will treat everyone just equally and with fairness. So it is a fact that we have to at least respect this for now, but in the future, I believe these issues can be addressed.
You know, Senator Shehu, there's been talks about the silent or unwritten convention as to having Christian and Muslim joint ticket in Kaduna's politics. But that changed sometime in 2019, and the APC still went ahead to win with 55% of the vote. Some would say perhaps this division is not as sharp as it's been widely reported, given how the election turned out.
The point is that it's not about winning election, but it is about how do you rule the state after elections have been won, and how do you carry people along. That's a fact of matter. You can win election by any form of equation, but the fact is that how will the state fare after that? If you have won election now under a Muslim ticket in Kaduna, and then I, as a Muslim from the northern part of Kaduna, I cannot go to the southern part of Kaduna and live with my family. So despite you knowing me as someone who doesn't profess any form of discrimination against anyone, but the state has been sharply divided, and the state has still been is being ruled typical of what has happened in South Africa. The people of Southern Kaduna are actually marginalized from the politics of the state, and they don't consider the government of Kaduna State as their own government, as the government of people of Northern Kaduna, because it is being structured along that way. And let us look at it also from this point of view. Our people in Kaduna State, the Muslims, are not happy with what is happening in Plateau. They always say that there should be Muslims in Plateau should also be given an opportunity to produce either a speaker or a deputy governor. Then how can you be recommending to Plateau State what you are not practicing in your own very state? So to me, I believe it is simply the matter of saying how can you bring people together. It is a fact that in 1993, I was part of the struggle. I was a leading figure in the struggle. We fought. Abiola won election. Why did Christians in the North supported him? It was simply in the fact that he has invested over the years, even before he joined politics, in terms of showing to the people of the country, in all parts of the country, that he is a unifying figure, and that he has not been identified as someone who has made either any utterances or by the way he run his life, his family, his politics, to being someone who will be unjust. So it's all about the leader. If you have a leader who has proven, or leadership that has proven that they can be fair and just, all these issues could not have come in. But if any leader who has tried to explain to the people that self-certificate will work, he may not be the problem. The problem will be with the system. The system has already ingrained in people. There is only when you have someone from an ethnic and religious background that you are protected. So it is the system. It's not simply, it is the leaders that have created a system of distrust in the hearts of people. So if you go to a typical ministry now, you see a minister, you go to his office, most of his aides will be people from his own religion and people from his ethnic background. You go to a typical person holding position of power, it's still the same thing. If you are employing 10 people, you'll find out that 8 people will come from your own village, your own town, your own ethnic group. So it is the problem with it, not just in Nigeria, but in the whole of Africa. So if this has to be addressed, then those who find themselves in the position of authority have to prove over time that they can be fair and they can be just. That can dissolve this idea of saying that a person who should be in position of power must be someone who comes from an ethnic or religious background.
You know, you referenced Abiola's election in 1993 and why the electorate didn't pay much attention to the Muslim ticket. Are you saying that in the forthcoming election in your state, the Kaduna electorate would not also be able to look beyond whether there's a woman on the ballot or a 68-year-old, or whether a party is fielding a ticket with the same religion, and to be able to identify their track record, what they have done in the past, and their capacity to lead? Don't you think that the electorate also has the capacity this time to do that?
Well, I think people will vote, but you need to be in Kaduna to see to hear from the people on the ground and their feeling. And I believe that if you think you have the capacity and the competence to deliver, and you still have to understand the sensitivity of other people, especially people who are not from your own part. So I don't think that Kaduna should be used as a scale to recommend any Muslim ticket to anybody or anywhere. But I think in the greater sense, like I've said, it's about the leader. If you have a leader, for example, the late Balarabe Musa, he got his votes when he was contesting more from the Christian side, even down from the Muslim side, because they believe in him. So once you have a leader who has proven over the years that he's a unifying figure, he can be fair and just to any person, people will vote for him. After all, in Niger State, in a predominantly Muslim area, you once have a Christian, Senator David Moru, who has won election. Even in Kaduna here, in 1999, there was an Igbo man who won election as a member of State House of Assembly. So it's all about the individual. And I believe that if we have to go out of this, then leaders who have found themselves in a position of power and authority by virtue of being elected into office, they have to prove that you can serve any person, you can serve anybody, and you can serve the community, your society, and your country without showing any form of alienation.
I'm finding it hard to hear you, Senator Shehu. Kindly hold that thought while we work on that network and open the phone lines for other perspectives to our conversation, Senator. Mr. George has called in from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Nifemi.
Good morning.
And good morning to the distinguished senator. I think I agree with the senator that more people will come out to vote during this upcoming election, because whenever a new person is taking over, there's this enthusiasm. Everybody wants his preferred candidate to win. For that reason, there will be a larger turnout. The issue of non-collection of PVCs, I think INEC has to explain certain things to us. These uncollected PVCs have been there for many years. They are not recent. Every time election is coming, this is the story we keep on hearing. These uncollected PVCs, are they real? Judging from the number we are hearing, in one state, they will tell you 1.something million has not been collected. How is it that 1.6, 1.5 million people will register in one state and they did not come to collect? The rate of non-collection of PVC makes me suspect whether these people actually exist or not. Now, with their technology improving, I think INEC needs to go back to their records and verify whether these people actually exist, so that we know an average number of uncollected PVCs. The numbers do not look real to me.
Thank you for staying with us. Our attention is on Kaduna State this morning. Senator Shehu Sani is my guest. But let's quickly take Ada's call from Jos before we get back to the senator. Good morning, Ada.
Hello, good morning, Nifemi. Good morning, distinguished Senator Shehu Sani. It's unfortunate that Shehu Sani could not make it because of the kind of money politics we play in Nigeria. But all the same, God's time is the best. Sometimes, someday, he will still feature. Having said that now, insecurity could be a reason for non-collection of PVCs on Kaduna, that is not having enough people collecting it. Another thing is death. You know, Kaduna has been unfortunate. It has had lots of series of insecurity killings, one too many, you know, and so people might be dead. So why can't INEC find out whether those PVCs that are dead, whether they are dead. They can find out through the traditional rulers, the clergy, and what have you, they can use them to find out if they are dead or alive. If they are dead, then they can destroy them. Not every time they're announcing that they have so much PVCs there. Then I commend the military for what they are doing, in combating this insurgency. But I think one thing is missing. The thing that is missing is that it's not, they don't do it simultaneously. They carry it out from state to state. So by the time they are finished with Zampara, the soldiers have an opportunity to escape to adjoining states. They go to Kaduna, they go to Kaduna, they move down, the military moves to Kaduna. By the time they finish with Kaduna, they move to another. So if there's a way federal government can back them up and let this thing be conducted simultaneously, so that we can switch them out. But if this process of, this issue of insecurity is not handled nationwide, it's going to be an issue. People will be afraid. Even my own state, mistake. I saw my governor, go to President Buhari, and they said they are giving him some military backing and all that. So that should be done everywhere. That's technology. Technology should be used everywhere, especially the flashpoint. So again, INEC can also deal with NYSC. To use coppers to also help in distributing these PVCs, because it looks as if they don't have enough manpower. Because there are some places people will queue up there for hours, and that can be frustrating. Not give up on this one. People should not sell their PVCs, and then INEC, those people that are buying PVCs to suppress, to bring about voter suppression, which is another form of vote buying, they should persecute them. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we don't persecute anybody. Nobody is punished for any offense. All the same, let's not do over Nigeria. It shall be well.
Thank you, Ada, for your contribution. Senator Sani, thank you for staying the course on the program. You heard Ada talk about the issue of insecurity in Kaduna. You also raised the issue with Southern Kaduna earlier. Some civil groups are already raising concerns about how secure that part of the country will be ahead of this election.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about this? Senator Sani, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you faintly, but you go on.
Okay, I'm asking about your thoughts as to security concerns ahead the 2023 general election, particularly in Kaduna.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Well, I've said it earlier, that insecurity has seriously affected the ability, capacity, and the opportunity that collecting their PVC and also exercising their civic responsibility. I know parts of Kaduna where more than 50 to 60 villages have packed and have moved to bigger towns as a result of this problem. So I think if we don't move fast in terms of finding these people and delivering these PVCs to them at their new locations, many people will be disenfranchised. And I'm also not comfortable with having thousands of PVCs laying in INEC offices like that without being destroyed, and even during elections time. So I believe that one of the things which INEC has to do for now is to ensure that they empty their boxes at their stores of these PVCs. It's either is delivered or is destroyed. And we can't keep these PVCs until election time because the numbers are very significant.
Indeed.
And in the case of Kaduna particularly, I think engaging these structures is very important because INEC cannot do it alone. There are places where it's so inaccessible now because of insecurity. Not that these things happen every second, but the security of people and the safety of people who are going there matters a lot. And this has to be done even before the election time so that people can at least come to the local government headquarters and vote. If that is not done, I think we will have an election result where many people simply were not able to vote.
I understand you're concerned about the disfranchisement of certain voters, but as to the destruction of PVCs, one would think that the BVAS technology already quells any concern as to whether someone can use another person's voter card with the latest technology. But please hold that thought. Let's quickly take Mazi Okorafo's call from Arochukwu in Delta State, in Abia State. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning, Senator. Now, you see, this issue of abandonment of cars PVC by people at the INEC office is not healthy. For my own observation, I went there. I collected my own. That was 2 days ago. I discovered that the number of cars that have not collected are more than the one that. Then I started asking them. They said to Oga, we have to manage. And I'm just suggesting to INEC, there are a lot of unemployed within the government. Just go. Let them arrange these cards in alphabetical order. Although the cards are being grouped on zone 0, 0, 0, 0. But if they are to arrange it in alphabetical order in that their local government office, it will help and make it faster. So that each staff is in charge of rather a surname O or A or B or C, one person or 2 or 3. Behind it, it is very fast. And the question is, I want to find out from our senator. And every time you open your radio television, you talk about a problem in Kaduna State. What does it take the chiefs and youth leaders to mobilize young men and young women to be doing what we call vigilante group morning, afternoon, and evening? All these are honorable members from that area. Between those youth, at least stipends, it will help to maintain security in Kaduna State. But the situation whereby everybody relying on the government, it will not work. Honestly speaking, the honorable members, I suggest, honorable senator, call the honorable members from their place. Let them take the charge of paying stipends to the youth to take to the other place.
Good morning, Mazi. Thank you so much for your contribution. The caller is talking about multi-stakeholder involvement in peacekeeping in Kaduna. But just before you talk about that, earlier we were talking about the possibility of destroying uncollected PVCs. INEC is taking the distribution to wards and registration areas as we speak till, I believe, mid-January. But why should we destroy PVCs if we have BVAS that would not allow anyone use a PVC that is not theirs?
Is that question to me?
Yes, to you, Senator Sani.
All right. Well, you see, we live in a country where people are doubtful of so many things, and a lot of magic happens. We can talk of beavers, the technology that is involved, but knowing how Nigerians have so much specialized in beating the most advanced of all technology, I think it is safer that PVCs that are not being collected should be destroyed before election time. All these beavers is okay, but we have seen if we in Nigeria, in the world today, if you have people that can hack into accounts of even the most safest of all banks and get money out of it, they can hack anybody, they can go and do anything through any system. And these beavers and whatever technology we have are still being designed by people. So the safest thing to do is when people refuse to come and collect their bill before the election time, this should be done away with. That is very important. And yes. As for the question which the other person was asked about Kaduna, well, we have seen it in other states, in Zamfara, in Benue, in Katsina, and in Bauchi recently. The governors of the state have called on the people to pick up arms and take on these terrorists. And I believe I'm also one who shares this idea that people should rise in arms against terrorists and bandits, because it's quite clear that the monopoly of violence in the hands of these terrorists have made it possible for them to take over people's land, kill and kidnap people at will. But what I will say is that such efforts have not been able to bear fruit in some certain place. There are still communities that have been protecting their villages and towns in Kaduna State. But the level of sophistication of these terrorists, the kind of weapons they are using, is one in which you cannot just pick a rifle or a den gun to go after them. You need as equal firepower like them to be able to fight. So, but the point is that the state, the authority, and the government has not permitted people to use the same arms which terrorists are using. And that's why they can do all those things here. So before you even mobilize to fight, you have to get the permission of government. And will the government give you that permission? That's a different issue. If you are seen with AK-47, even if you are fighting terrorists and bandits, you can be arrested and prosecuted. So in this, it has to still do with the government. Our military, our police, our security agencies are doing their best, but the best is not enough to prevent the massacre, the killings, and kidnapping that's going on in Kaduna State.
I hear you, Senator Sani. Very quickly, let's take Emmanuel's call from Otukpo, who's called in from Benue State. Hi, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Nifemi.
Good morning.
Greetings to the distinguished Senator, Shehu Sani. Senator Shehu Sani, I'm proud of you. He's forthcoming, a very truthful man, very forthright. He speaks without minding whose ox is God. And those are the kind of politicians we need in this country. People who have conscience, political thinkers. We shouldn't mess up the politics. The situation where a politician will come on board and say, politics is a do or die affair. All those kind of languages, they are not healthy. Or that dogs and baboons will be soaked in blood. Or that I'm ready to fight dirty. We don't need to have all these kind of statements in our politics. We need more decent men like Shehu Sani to come into the politics so that we can clean our political circles and make the country great again. Senator Shehu Sani, may God bless you and keep you for us and continue with your forthrightness. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for your contribution. Well, Senator Sani has tried to return to active politics or to elective position. He defected to the PDP last year. Senator Sani, perhaps we should quickly talk about that. You had lost to Issa Ashiru at the PDP primary. How united would you say you and other aspirants are, and how immune is the Kaduna PDP to the party's internal crisis at the top?
Well, my politics is a politics of principles, of conviction, of an ideology. I have my own principle, and I don't believe that we can change this country if we have to use the same corrupt system that has destroyed our country in order to get out of it. I contested the governorship of Kaduna State, and my colleagues who contested along with me, they shared money to delegates, and the delegates voted them. So that is the corruption in the system. I am of the PDP, but I do not approve of the way in which an opposition party that ought to have set a clear and different agenda in terms of laying a standard for propriety, morality, and sanity to engage in that. But I lost it because they gave money and I refused to give money. But that is a fact. But in that aspect of it, we have a candidate who has won, and he is Issa Ashiru, and there is no problem with him being the candidate, because right now we are all rallying around to see that he claims the seat of power in Kaduna State. So, and I believe that he has a lot to deliver and to correct and right the wrongs that have been unleashed over the last 7.5 years by Nasir El-Rufai. So this is it. We want someone who can unite our people, the Christians and the Muslims, who will treat everybody with equity, with fairness, and with justice. That is.
All right. We'll work on Senator Sani's network. Let's talk to Rose, who's called in from Aja. Good morning, Rose.
Yeah, good morning, please. I just want to contribute to the slow pace of the collection of PVC. And the way it's going, if you look at the manual where you start looking for one person before they get one person, it takes so much time. And a lot of Nigerians don't have that patience to wait. Somebody suggested using of youth or even the youth corpus. If there are no other technologies of trying to, somebody is waiting at the window, you wait, and somebody is just searching. Let there be something done about the manpower, the manpower to do this distribution. And secondly, I want to also ask if there are provisions to take this collection of voters' card to the people in IDP camps. A lot of people that cannot get to where they are collecting today are lavishing in the IDP camp. Are there provisions to take this down to them? Please, we all want to participate in this. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Rose, for your contribution. INEC says it's now moved towards registration areas. Hopefully that will help the distribution of the voter cards. But we'll probably be talking about that next week with an INEC official to see what they're doing about it. Senator Sani, if you're still there, earlier on you were talking about politics of ideology. I'm wondering how that works with the current setting in Nigeria, the inter-party collaboration. I mean, like your other colleagues, you have...
very much in politics of ideology.
Just a minute, Senator Sani. I was going to say that, like your other colleagues, you have moved from AD to CPC to PRP, and then I think back to APC, and then currently in PDP. Talk to us about how this ideology works, particularly with these inter-party movements.
Well, if you look at Nigerian political parties, these are not organizational political structures with convictions, with principles, or with ideology, because most of the people who are in APC today were once in PDP. In fact, in the governors, almost 80% of governors of APC from northern part of Nigeria were people who moved from PDP and now in APC. There's something you can find in the ministers of Buhari, with very few of APC people now who have not been to PDP. Maybe Asuwaju, his deputy, Shetima, Buhari, Osibanjo, and very few others. But almost most of the APC lords now were the campees from the PDP. And if you look at the manifestos of all the political parties, you can photocopy one and simply put the cover of the other. So there is no ideology, but as an individual, one can have his own conviction. Political party platforms in Nigeria are simply a platform for seeking political power. They virtually do not have, even you can see the Labour Party as it is. When you say a Labour Party, you know that it's a party on the left. It has issues of workers, principles, convictions, rules, and on the left-hand side of the divide. But the person who is heading the Labour Party, he is from the right-hand side of the political divide in all his ideology, his thinking, and his also manifestos. So you can see the conflict. So in Nigeria, we have not evolved through that process.
Your line is breaking, Senator Sani. So just hold on a bit. Let me take another call and let's hope it gets better. Izzy has called in from Bayelsa. Hello, Izzy.
Good morning. How are you? Happy New Year.
Wish you the same. You have 1 minute. Please go ahead.
The topic is very interesting. The issues are very germane. Senator Sani, but the fundamental principle is that the politicians in Nigeria lack political ideology. There's issue of geopolitics from one party to the other, and it's a very sad development. You look at the trajectory, you begin to wonder what kind of politics we are playing. These are seasoned personalities of high caliber, but they should remain in a particular party, sell their ideology. That is why we have internal democratic issues. When there's no political, the world will be lacking with internal democracy. These are some of the crises that have affected various political parties, why there's no political stability, that have also affected our leadership process. The leaders, when they get into offices, they through themselves to, without ideology, cannot be able to read a manifesto of their political parties. Manifestos is lacking. That's why it's the role of campaign. Instead of leaders and presidential aspirants campaigning on policies and manifesto, busy abusing individuals and making comments that are not commentary. You see, Nigeria is a very sad situation. Right now, the country is operating over 33 million more dimensionally poor. And if our leaders don't rise up to the challenge and begin to dictate based on manifesto and cardinal principles of philosophy, it was very difficult for us. Sultani was speaking there, she's a politician, is somebody the whole country respects so much, but they should try to politics with proper ideology, because internal democracy is what has affected our political system, and it has affected
Easy. I'm afraid that's your time. Thank you so much for your contribution. Senator Sani, we have to go now. I get your point about how unorganized political parties are and why it makes it easy for politicians to move easily from one party to the other. Out of the four main contenders, one of them stands out as not to have moved, since his sojourn into politics, modern day politics in 1999. But we don't have much time. I'd just like you to quickly make reference and hear your comment on what is now being termed a fragmented opposition in Kaduna. A situation where some are saying the likes of Ashake and Unkuyi may split bases that are formerly known to support your party, the PDP. Do you see them closing ranks to give a chance for the opposition in the forthcoming governorship election?
Well, for all I know is that the structure of the party is beyond the gubernatorial candidates. If Asake is a good man, and he has been leading the struggle in Southern Kaduna for a very long time. But apart from him, who are the senatorial contestants of Labour Party, who are the members, House Assembly, who are reps? There's none. PDP is entrenched in Southern part of Kaduna. Without Southern part of Kaduna, PDP could have not been existing in Kaduna State at all. But it has now gained ground in central and northern part of Kaduna. So you can see from the local government election that took place some few years ago. So as far as I'm concerned, I do not think that any split within the PDP can be much of a problem. As far as the PDP is concerned, everyone has rallied behind the gubernatorial candidate, which is Isa Ashiru. And then I believe that they will make it in the 2023 election. So internal crisis in APC, in PDP Kaduna is very minimal. Despite Asake contesting from southern part. And there are other people who are House of Fulani from the north who are also contesting other parties. Like you have Shaban, he's contesting ADP, and other people who are contesting from the northern part. So they can also divide votes. But I believe that Kaduna is an APC and PDP state. Any other political party doesn't have appreciable presence here.
And that shows from the past two elections where both parties you've mentioned garnered over 90% of the total vote cast. Shehu Sani, human rights activist and politician, thank you so much for your contribution on the program this morning. That's our show, everyone. Thank you for being a part of it. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. I'll see you again.